I came to the realization that most artists who are watching this channel have better art websites and frankly better art than me, but they make less money. And so in this video, I want to give you a 10-minute solution, a $0 solution that will allow you to receive payments by the end of the week so that you can finally feel like a professional artist. This email from Brian expresses the problem that most artists have, and so let's take a look. Hi Dries, thank you again for the great information. The problem I have that still seems to persist is driving traffic to my website. Why does he want to drive traffic? Because he wants to make money. This is going to be important in the rest of the mail. I have the link on Insta and Facebook and YouTube, but still don't get any inquiries. I feel like no one sees it or they don't say they do. I don't have a buy now link or anything. Why does he not have a buy now link? Of course he wants to make money. Of course artists want to make money. Why do they not have a buy now link on the website? I have heard conflicting messages about this. Some say, so here we have the answer. Some say list the price, some say don't. This is a problem that a lot of artists are experiencing. They listen to the art world and they see that galleries do not have a price on the website or a buy now button on the website. And so they believe that they now have to do the same thing as these galleries. Namely, not having a price on the website. What they don't understand is the strategy that these galleries are deploying to sell art. And so if you copy paste an incomplete strategy, you obviously will not get results. Now, this is not a critique towards Brian. I don't know his entire strategy, of course, but this is something that a lot of artists are facing. They have to make a choice between pricing their art on the website or on their social media platforms vs not pricing it at all. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the two strategies so that you can demystify the art world and finally understand what is actually going on. The golden rule that all successful art websites need to follow is the following rule. All potential customers need to be taking an action on the website. Regardless of the price button or the non-price button, they need to take an action. And action is either giving you their email address or buying an artwork. Those are the two actions that can be performed. And so these galleries that don't have any pricing options, what they do have usually is a very powerful incentive for potential collectors to put their email address in, to ask them questions with incentives. Questions. What is a question? What is asking a question on a website? It's filling out a form and putting your email in that form, and then you receive email newsletters or potentially particular offers, etc., etc. And so this is one of the actions that these galleries that are not putting the price on the website are optimizing for. If you are not optimizing for that and you have a beautiful art portfolio website and the only way to contact you is through a regular form without incentives, then you are not playing that particular game. Now, what are these galleries doing on top of that, collecting email addresses? Well, a lot of these galleries will then, of course, send an email newsletter to all of those potential customers, reaching them without spending a single dollar on all of that advertisement. On top of that, a lot of them will take all of those email addresses. Let's say they gather 3,000 email addresses or 4,000 email addresses of potential customers in a 2-year period. Then they will upload that email address into Facebook, and then they will create a lookalike audience in Facebook Ads Manager. What is a lookalike audience? This is an audience where the algorithm of Facebook will search through the entirety of America, the entirety of Australia, the entirety of Europe for people that are very similar to the people in this email list. And now these galleries are reaching through advertisements very cheaply all of those potential customers and beyond those potential customers because they've collected those lists. And so the strategy that is being deployed by these superstar galleries is completely different than what artists are deploying when they don't have a buying button or price on the website. Okay, and so if you want to play that game, some say list the price, some say don't. If you want to play the game of not listing the price, you have to play the game of making sure you get those emails. This is crucial. I've talked about this many times. This is very, very crucial. The most valuable thing that you can have is emails. Okay, and so what I would recommend, considering that the strategy of email collection is way more difficult and a more long-term game, what I would recommend for artists is to simply add a buying button. That is the easiest $0 solution to the problem of getting an action of particular potential customers. Now, when it comes to driving traffic, let's listen here. I have the link on Insta, Facebook, YouTube. A lot of artists, they feel like when they are making posts on these social media platforms, they are reaching other artists predominantly. They are not actually reaching any collectors. And so the traffic they drive from their perspective is traffic that is of low quality, traffic that will not make the purchase. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. There are artists who are buying artworks of other artists. I'm one of them. And perhaps you will see in the comment section a couple of people that are doing the exact same thing. And so you can most certainly drive traffic, even if that traffic is other artists and not the ideal super targeted customer profile, then you can still generate sales by driving traffic, of course. Now, here's something that's very, very important, because this is the typical art portfolio strategy. A lot of artists, they are putting a crazy amount of effort in making the most amazing, beautiful art portfolio, years of effort in making the paintings, years of effort in making the social media platforms, years of effort in posting, years of effort in trying to drive traffic, trying to build a brand. And what do they get? They don't get the ROI that they deserve. And they feel overwhelmed by the fact that they're doing so many things, but they're not getting the sales. Now, let's listen here. There is an analytics source through format via Google, but I need to set it up. Not sure how helpful it would be. So analytics, I've optimized the SEOs with every update, but still no increase. So what is he saying here? He's saying that he doesn't have a buy now link. He doesn't use analytics, but he is putting effort in SEO. What I'm seeing here is that Brian is putting effort. This is what a lot of people do. They put massive amounts of effort but don't get the ROI. He's putting effort in things that don't matter. SEO doesn't matter. Do you want to know how many people come on my website through SEO? Zero. Nobody. I don't play the SEO game. And I have a big brand, a normal sized brand on YouTube, a normal sized brand on TikTok, a normal sized brand in the email newsletter, a normal sized brand, and I do not get any SEO. The SEO game is something that is, number one, outdated. AI has replaced that whole thing. So don't put time and effort in SEO, because then you will in fact feel overwhelmed and you will feel like you're doing crazy amount of effort without getting ROI. So don't put effort in SEO. Okay, SEO is outdated. AI replaces SEO, the whole game. This is just not something that happens anymore. On top of that, the SEO game that was played back in the days went way further than just putting some keywords in the descriptions, in the things that you upload. The people that were winning the SEO game were paying before AI to translate their websites in various languages. Tens of thousands of dollars to translate the whole thing, because that was what was pushing the ranking up. That was giving a signal to Google that these websites were investing heavy dollars in their website and therefore a good website. Or they would have massive amount of backlinks from extremely powerful other websites. By the way, what is backlinks? Backlinks are links that are coming from other websites to your websites. And so a backlink of, for example, the New York Times, aka the New York Times having an article and linking to you, is more powerful than a link from my website, for example, because the New York Times is obviously a more powerful website. When it comes to SEO, for those who don't understand SEO, this is search engine optimization, where you basically do things on the website that will optimize and make it more likely that your website organically ranks in search. But nobody's using search anymore. Search is done. Google is not being used. No, like people just go on AI and ask their questions on AI. Or ask their questions on AI. Now, on a good note, I did finish another commission, which I plan on delivering next month. So it's not all doom and gloom. That will make it 4 originals since February. Sounds great, right? But 7 months, that's less than 1 a month. Not really that good. If you look at it as a business, from a business perspective. So driving views to the website seems to still be the issue. Look, Brian is part of the artist formula. He is in the program. He knows things about value enhancers and all of that stuff. The truth is that with the socials, I remember his YouTube channel is fairly small. I don't remember the Instagram and Facebook. I should probably check that. But the truth is that with his size, and this is assuming that he has, let's say, less than 3,000 followers, or less than 2,000, 3,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. On YouTube, it's like 100 or something, or 200. Let's talk about this. So getting 4 sales is a normal amount with having 1,000 or 2,000 followers. This is a normal amount. This is not a bad result. From a business perspective, it is not necessarily the best result. That is correct. Because it's very hard to, if you are selling for, let's say, $1,000, it's very hard to make this work for you. This is why I recommend, and this is something that I didn't understand in the beginning. There was a time that I was selling art for $800 or $1,000. This is not a smart idea. You should not sell this cheaply. This was a mistake that I was making. If you're a beginner artist, what you should be doing is putting a crazy amount of effort in the value enhancer system that I've explained in the artist formula. Brian knows about this. And then pushing the price points way up. You should ideally be selling as a complete beginner at the 8, 9, 10K price point. And then you have to make sure that what you are offering is so much better than all of the other offers in the marketplace. That is how you win. You make sure that the offer is unbelievably powerful. And so what does that look like from Brian's perspective, for example, or any artist's perspective? You want to, for example, this is just a random thing that comes to mind. You want to use value enhancers. So you want to increase the value of your artworks without necessarily changing the artwork. So how are you going to make the artwork more desirable, more valuable without changing the art necessarily? One of the things that comes to mind, for example, is that you can, this is just the first thing that comes to mind. You can make up your own enhancers, right? Offer, together with the artwork, a framing solution / a placing solution where you take the interior of the customer into account and you actually decide based on the color patterns, based on the objects, what frame is the best frame, and you do everything for them so that they don't have to do anything themselves, meaning that you ship it, then take up contact with the framer, their local framer, and then make sure that that local framer frames it according to your vision of interior, whatever the fuck, right? This is a valuable thing because now they don't have to put any time and effort in that. And the purchase now becomes much easier because you will literally do everything for them. They don't have to spend any more time. This is powerful. This is how you have to think about it. You want to make the offer stronger by adding things so that you can push the price point up, making sure that the price looks very cheap because of the enhancers in the offer, right? Now, you want to do that for everything, including earlier, we talked about getting the email addresses of potential customers. You also want to do that there. Just a simple form where they can ask a question is BS. A lot of people, a lot of artists believe that if only they put themselves out there, if only they are making posts online on Instagram, then people will go in the DMs or they will contact them through a form on the website asking for the price. This is not true. This is not how it works. People are not going to do that. And so this misbelief is preventing you from actually generating sales. You want to incentivize them to do so. And so how are you going to incentivize people to give you their email address? Two things that come to mind. You could, for example, say, if you inquire today any of the paintings, then you get a 10% discount on your purchase above $400. Now, making sure, of course, that you in fact have things on the website that are more expensive than $400. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like a real thing, of course. So that's a prerequisite. Or you could, for example, say, if you inquire today, you get a free mock-up of the artwork hanging in your home. You can very easily do this with AI, and this is very interesting. Now you are giving the customer something that they like. They can now envision the artwork hanging in their home. And we also know that the more they can envision the artwork hanging in their home, the more likely they are going to buy. And so the thing that you give here to get that email address is actually also something that makes it more likely that they buy your art. Now, in order to make this video complete, we should be talking about what art collectors want, diving deep into their brain so that all of the incentives that you create for yourself that fit the art that you make and your style, that they are all in line with problems and pain points that collectors actually have, so that they actually do the action that you want them to perform. But we're not going to do that because I've already talked about that in another video called I Studied 1,000+ collectors, great art collectors want to buy. If you want your questions to be answered in a full video, then subscribe to the email newsletter. It's free. Link in the description and the end screen. That's it. Get the hell out of here.